The moment she saw the human lift the metal cup, she felt her heart tighten in fear. Kalira had warned him about the water. She had told him it was herd water meant only for her species and safe only for the creature she protected. Any outsider who touched it suffered breathing failure within minutes. Yet the human named Raylan stood there in the quiet field with wind brushing against his hair and drank it like it was nothing more than rain from the sky. Kalira froze. Her tail lowered and her armor plates twitched with alarm. She expected him to cough or collapse, but he only wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and looked at her with calm eyes. He spoke in a soft, even tone that made her confusion grow. He told her it tasted fine. She could not understand how this simple human survived something that her people considered dangerous for all outsiders. Rylan did not seem aware of the danger he had walked into. He only saw a tired alien warrior with a wounded herd and thought she needed help. He had found her struggling to guide the weakened creatures across the valley. Their legs shook. Their breathing was rough. Kalira herself carried an injury on her shoulder where her armor had cracked during a fight. Raylan had stepped forward offering water from his own metal jug, thinking he was doing the kind thing. Kalira had tried to stop him, but the human misunderstood her gesture. When she pushed the cup back toward him to show she could not drink it, he raised it to his lips and took a slow, calm sip. Now she stood staring at him, trying to understand how he remained alive after something that should have harmed him. Raylan watched her with quiet curiosity. He found her tall, strong, and unlike anything he had ever seen. Her blue skin held faint silver lines that glowed softly with each breath. Her armor looked battle-worn, but her eyes showed sharp awareness. He told her again that he only wanted to help. Kalira looked away for a moment because she did not know how to respond. No human had ever stepped forward so casually into danger without question. She tried to speak, but her voice felt strange. She asked him if he understood what he had done. Raylan shook his head and simply answered that water was water, and she looked like she needed some. Kalira almost laughed at the human logic, but her fear did not fade. She moved close to him, studied his breathing, and checked his skin for signs of reaction. Still nothing. Her thoughts raced. Either he was stronger than she expected, or something about human biology made him immune to the water that her tribe guarded so carefully. If her elders learned about him, they would want to study him. If her enemies learned about him, they would want to capture him. This single moment turned him from a stranger into a mystery that could shift the balance between species. The herd behind her stirred weakly. The large creatures trusted Kalira, but they now looked at Raylan with soft, uncertain eyes. One stepped forward and sniffed his hand. Raylan knelt down and touched its head gently. The creature relaxed as if accepting him. Kalira watched this with more shock than before. Herd beasts did not trust outsiders. Yet this human seemed to carry a calm presence that eased their fear. Kalira felt a tug of responsibility. She knew she should leave him behind for his own safety, yet she also knew she needed to understand why he survived the water. She asked him to walk with her until she reached the forest line. Raylan agreed without a moment of doubt. He walked beside her, carrying his small pack and watching the herd with quiet care. The air grew cooler as they moved. The sun lowered slowly, casting long shadows across the valley. Kalira noticed Raylan scanning the surroundings, often as if expecting danger. It surprised her. Humans were not known for their awareness in wild terrain, but he showed steady focus like a trained scout. She asked him why he kept looking toward the trees. He told her he heard something moving earlier and wanted to make sure nothing followed them. This made her pause. She remembered the strange track she had seen before she met him. She had hoped they belonged to a harmless creature, but his words brought a wave of worry. A rival clan had been hunting her herd for days. She had escaped once, but her injury slowed her. If they returned, she would not be able to fight alone. She studied Raylan, again trying to decide if he understood what he was walking into. He carried no armor, no advanced weapon, no shield generator. He only had a simple knife and a steady gaze that did not match his fragile appearance. She wondered if humans hid more strength than their bodies revealed. She wondered if he knew fear at all. Rylan stopped for a moment and pointed at a broken branch on the ground. He quietly said that someone heavy had passed through recently, maybe an hour ago. Kalira felt her stomach tighten. He was right. The rival clan was closer than she feared. She looked at him, expecting him to turn back, but he asked her if she wanted to move faster. This simple question surprised her more than everything else that had happened. He had drunk deadly water. He had walked beside a wounded alien warrior without fear. Now he was ready to face danger he did not even understand. Kalira felt something shift inside her. She no longer saw him as a simple human. She saw him as someone who stepped into a storm without hesitation. She nodded slowly and told him they needed to stay close and silent. Raylan nodded back. As they moved deeper into the valley, the shadows thickened and the air grew tense. The danger she feared was closing in. And for the first time, Kalira realized that the human who should have been harmed by herd water might be the only one strong enough to stand beside her when night arrived. Kalira walked with steady steps. But inside her thoughts twisted in ways she had never felt before. She had trained for battle since childhood. She had faced storms, beasts, and enemy clans without fear. Yet now she felt a strange tension rising each time she looked at the human beside her. Raylan walked calmly, as if the danger around them was nothing more than a change in weather. His quiet strength unsettled her, because she could not explain it. She kept glancing at him, trying to understand what he truly was. The cup of herd water still rested in his pack. She could see a faint shimmer on the metal from where the liquid had touched it. Any outsider who carried herd water for too long became dizzy, but Raylan showed no signs of weakness. He looked relaxed and aware at the same time. This made Kalira feel a kind of fear she never knew before. It was not fear of harm. It was fear of uncertainty. Raylan walked ahead for a moment and moved a low branch away from her path. He did it gently without speaking. Kalira felt a wave of confusion. No alien warrior would ever allow someone to guide their steps even in kindness. Yet she did not push his hand away. She simply nodded once. The herd followed behind them. Their heavy breaths spread across the air. Kalira checked them, often making sure they kept pace. Raylan watched her eyes each time she turned back. He had no understanding of herd animals, yet he observed everything. When one creature slowed, he shifted closer as if ready to help. She found this strange because humans were known to be cautious around large alien beasts. But he did not carry fear in his body. Kalira finally asked him why he was still here. Raylan gave a simple answer. He said she looked like she needed support, and he did not want to leave someone alone in open land with danger nearby. Kalira stared at him for a long moment. His words were plain, but they carried weight. In her culture, support was earned through trials, not offered freely. A light wind moved across the valley. The grass bent in soft waves. Kalira felt the shift in the air. Silence fell in a way she understood well. Something large was moving behind them at a careful distance. She looked toward the forest edge and saw faint shapes sliding between the trees. She did not speak. She needed to confirm if it was the rival clan or a wild creature. Raylan noticed her sudden stillness. He lowered his voice and asked if something was following them. His perception surprised her again. She nodded once and signaled him to stay close. He did without question. She did not expect that either. Most humans she had met before argued or demanded explanations. Raylan accepted danger with simple, calm steps. They moved toward a slope that led to a small rise in the land. Kalira knew the spot well. From there she could see in all directions, but reaching it required crossing a narrow path where enemies could strike. She stopped the herd and walked ahead to check the ground. Raylan followed beside her. She allowed it even though she knew she should walk alone. Something about his presence steadied her. When they reached the rise, she knelt and touched the soil. The marks were fresh. Deep lines cut by heavy boots, small circles from spear points. A bent patch of grass showing where someone had rested. She felt a slow, cold fear. The rival clan had been here less than an hour ago. Rylan watched her face and understood before she spoke. He said they should move the herd quickly and avoid open areas. Kalira felt a strange mix of respect and discomfort. She was the warrior, yet he spoke with the tone of someone used to danger. She did not argue. The situation was too serious. As they guided the herd forward, the sky darkened. Clouds gathered without sound. The air grew thick like a warning. Kalira saw Rylan tighten the straps of his pack. He walked with more focus now. Kalira finally asked him if he was afraid. She expected him to say yes. Instead, he said he thought fear was useful because it helped people act faster. She had never heard a human speak like that. She looked ahead but kept his words in her mind. The herd began to move faster, sensing the tension in their guardians. Kalira walked beside Rylan as the shadows lengthened behind them. Every step carried the weight of danger and the promise of something she could not understand. She feared the rival clan. She feared losing the herd. But the feeling that held her thoughts the strongest was something new. She feared the truth hidden inside the human who drank water that should have ended his life and now walked beside her as if he belonged to her world. Night settled over the valley with slow, careful darkness. The sky shifted from pale gold to deep shadow as the last light faded behind the hills. Kalira guided the herd to a sheltered area between two large stone walls. The place was quiet enough for rest and hidden enough for safety. She inspected every corner before allowing the herd to lie down. Raylan stood a short distance away, gathering dry branches for a small fire that would not draw attention. Kalira watched him move. He worked with steady hands and simple focus. She noticed again how natural he looked in a place where most humans panicked or rushed. He placed each branch with quiet care. She wondered if he understood how close danger was. She wondered if he felt the same tension that lived in her chest. When the fire glowed gently, she sat near it and cleaned her cracked armor plate. Raylan placed a folded cloth beside her without speaking. She took it with a slow nod. She was not used to humans reading her needs. She was not used to anyone doing it. For some time the night remained calm. The herd breathed softly behind them. The fire made a low, warm sound. Kalira allowed her body to relax but kept her senses open. She felt a strange peace near him. It made her uneasy because she had never mixed peace with caution before. Rylan sat across from her, sharpening his small knife. After a moment, he looked up and asked if her injury was still painful. Kalira hesitated. She did not like showing weakness, but she answered honestly. She said the wound slowed her movements, but she could still fight. Raylan nodded once, then added that he hoped she would not need to. His voice carried quiet concern. Kalira did not know how to respond. She was a warrior. Fighting was part of her life. Yet hearing concern from a human made her chest tighten in a new way. She lowered her gaze and focused on her armor instead. Hours passed until deep night took hold. The moon rose above the cliffs, shining a faint silver light. Kalira prepared to rest, but something shifted in the air. A low vibration moved under the ground like a distant drumbeat. Her eyes opened at once. She sat up alert. Rylan reacted at the same moment. He heard it too. He turned toward the dark tree line with a focused stare. Kalira felt a sharp chill. It was rare for a human to sense vibrations before she did. She rose to her feet quietly and signaled him to stay low. He obeyed without question. The vibration grew stronger for a moment, then faded. Kalira stepped forward, scanning the shadows. She breathed slowly, letting her instincts guide her. A faint metallic thump echoed from far away. She knew that sound. It belonged to the rival clan. Their weapons carried heavy metal ends that rattled when warriors moved in formation. She whispered that someone was out there. Raylan shifted closer and asked how many. She told him she did not know. The night hid too much. The sound could mean a single scout or a full group. Raylan tightened his grip on the knife. Kalira saw no fear in him, only focus. They stood in silence listening. The herd behind them sensed the tension and rose from the ground. Soft, worried sounds filled the air as the animals pressed together. Kalira moved between them and the shadows ready to defend them. Raylan stood beside her with an expression that made her pause. He looked ready to face anything, even if he did not understand what waited in the dark. Kalira studied him. She wondered again what he was made of. She wondered if some hidden strength existed inside him, or if he simply lived without fear. She did not know which answer unsettled her more. Another faint sound reached them. A branch breaking. A whisper of movement. Kalira held her breath and counted the seconds. Nothing else followed. The enemy was close but not attacking. They were watching, waiting. She leaned close to Raylan and spoke in a low voice. She told him that if the rival clan discovered the herd, they would strike without mercy. Raylan asked how many warriors she could fight in her current condition. Kalira gave a quiet, honest answer. Not many. Not enough. Raylan looked ahead with steady calm. He said they should move before dawn. The enemy waited for weakness and light would expose them. Kalira realized he understood the situation better than she expected. She nodded, agreeing to his plan. As she prepared to wake the herd, a new feeling rose in her chest. A warning pulling at her instincts. A sense that the night had not shown its full danger yet. She looked at Raylan, who stood ready with only a knife and calm eyes. For the first time she felt fear. Not of the enemy, but of losing the human who walked beside her with quiet courage that made the darkness feel less heavy. The night held its breath as the first true danger crept closer. Before the first light touched the sky. Kalira felt the shift in the wind. The air grew colder, sharper, carrying the silent promise of danger. She stood at the edge of the camp watching the dark tree line while Raylan guided the herd into formation. The creatures sensed fear and pressed close together, waiting for her command. Raylan moved among them with calm steps and steady hands. He touched their shoulders and whispered soft words that seemed to settle them. Kalira watched him and felt a strange comfort, but she knew it would not last. The attack came with no warning. One breath, the world was quiet. The next, a spear sliced through the air with deadly speed. Kalira reacted by instinct. She turned and blocked it with her cracked armor plate. The impact shook her entire body. The spear fell to the ground, ringing against the stones. Raylan reached her side instantly. His knife was already drawn. His eyes went sharp like a hunter, sensing the moment before a storm. Kalira did not tell him to run. She knew he would not. From the trees, the rival clan stepped out. Their bodies were tall and broad, with dark armor that reflected no light. Their leader carried a heavy spear with a jagged tip. His eyes fixed on the herd with cold hunger. Kalira lowered her stance, ready to fight, but pain rippled from her shoulder. She felt weakened, yet she refused to step back. The enemy leader raised his hand and the warriors charged. Kalira met the first one with a sharp strike. Her blade cut across his armor, but her movements were slower than usual. The second warrior lunged at her, and she barely dodged the blow. Her body protested with every step. She knew she could not withstand a long fight. Raylan saw her struggle. Without hesitation, he ran forward and pushed her aside as another spear flew toward her chest. The weapon missed her by a breath. It struck the stone wall with a heavy thud. Kalira stared at him, stunned. No human should move into danger like that. No human should protect a warrior of her rank. Yet Raylan stood firm, with only his small knife ready to face armored aliens twice his size. The rival warriors laughed at him. They saw him as weak prey. One stepped toward him, raising his spear. Raylan did not retreat. He waited until the warrior swung, Then he moved under the blow and struck the warrior's wrist. The blade was small, but his timing was perfect. The spear slipped from the warrior's hand. Raylan kicked it away and stood ready again. Kalira felt something ignite inside her. She surged forward with renewed strength and met the next enemy head-on. She used her blade to deflect the attack and struck with her elbow. The warrior stumbled back. The herd cried out behind them, sensing danger. The ground trembled beneath the chaos. The rival clan regrouped around their leader. They had expected an easy victory. They had not expected resistance. They had not expected a human who drank herd water to stand beside an alien warrior. Their leader glared at Kalira with burning anger. He shouted something in their tongue, a command for retreat. They pulled back into the trees, but not far. They were not beaten. They were testing her. They were testing him. Kalira stood breathing hard. Her shoulder throbbed with pain. She looked at Raylan. He was scratched but steady. His chest rose and fell with controlled breaths. He looked at her with calm focus. She did not know how he held that calm after facing a warrior, far stronger than him. She walked closer and examined the cut on his arm. It was shallow but bleeding lightly. Raylan shrugged as if it was nothing. He asked if she was hurt. The question surprised her again. She was the trained fighter. He was the unarmored human. Yet he worried about her first. Kalira told him the enemy would return. Raylan nodded, agreeing without fear. He said they needed to move the herd before they were surrounded again. She knew he was right. The rival clan would not attack so lightly next time. They would strike with full force. The sky began to brighten with soft morning light. It touched the battlefield, revealing footprints, broken branches, and the trail of retreating warriors. Kalira felt her heart rise and fall with a mix of anger and relief. They survived the first attack, but she knew this was only the beginning. The rival clan now understood something they had never seen. A human who could not be weakened by herd water. A human who moved with fearless instinct. A human who fought beside her as if he belonged at her side. As they prepared to move deeper into the valley, Kalira realized something that changed everything. She was no longer afraid of the enemy. She was afraid of what Raylan might become in a world that was not ready for someone like him. The herd moved slowly across the valley while morning light brushed over their backs. Kalira walked beside them with her hand pressed against her injured shoulder. Every step reminded her of the battle they had just survived. Raylan walked close behind her, guiding the weakest animals and scanning the forest for danger. His calm eyes moved with quiet focus. She felt a strange safety in his presence, but she knew she could not allow that feeling to distract her. Something deeper needed to be explained. Something that could change everything for both of them. When they reached a shaded ridge, Kalira stopped. She signaled the herd to rest. Raylan stepped near her, waiting for her next instruction, but she did not speak right away. She looked at the cup in his pack, the same cup that still held the dangerous shimmer of herd water. She knew he deserved to understand its truth before the enemy returned. Raylan watched her carefully. He sensed the weight in her silence. He asked if something was wrong. Kalira took a slow breath. She told him the truth he did not yet understand. That herd water was not simple water. It carried living minerals shaped by her planet. It was safe only for her species and the herd creatures. Its energy was strong enough to shut down the lungs of outsiders. It was feared across many worlds. Raylan listened with focused eyes. He did not interrupt her. He waited until she finished, then looked at the cup as if seeing it for the first time. He asked her gently why she did not tell him earlier. Kalira felt a sting in her chest. She said she tried, but he misunderstood. She did not blame him. She blamed herself for not being clear enough. Raylan smiled with quiet warmth. He said he drank it because he thought she refused it out of pride. He wanted to show her there was no threat. He had taken the risk believing it was a gesture of trust. Kalira stared at him, unable to speak. A human risking his life for a mistake he did not even understand felt unreal to her. Her people viewed humans as fragile and self-protecting. Raylan was neither. She took the cup from his pack and held it in her hand. The liquid inside glowed faint blue. She asked him how he felt after drinking it. He said he felt normal. No weakness, no dizziness, no pain. Kalira examined him closely and still saw no sign of harm. This confused her more than anything. No one outside her tribe had ever survived herd water, even in small amounts. Raylan noticed the worry on her face. He placed a hand on her arm in gentle reassurance. The touch startled her. Her armor plates lifted slightly in reflex, but she did not pull away. He told her he trusted her, and he wanted her to trust him too. His voice was steady, honest, simple. She felt her chest tighten with something warm, unfamiliar, and dangerous. Kalira stepped back, forcing herself to focus. She said they needed to understand why he survived. If the rival clan discovered his immunity, they would hunt him. They would see him as a threat or a weapon. Raylan nodded, accepting the risk without hesitation. Kalira could not understand how he faced danger with such steady peace. They sat on the ridge while the herd rested around them. Kalira explained that herd water carried a resonance. It flowed through her body like energy threads. It strengthened her lungs and heart. It connected her to the herd, allowing her to guide and calm them. If Raylan could withstand that resonance, something inside him matched it. Something she had never seen in a human before. Raylan asked if that made him dangerous. Kalira shook her head. She said it made him rare. It made him important. But it also made him a target. The rival clan had already sensed something unusual about him. Their retreat had not been fear. It had been calculation. They would return with a new plan. Raylan looked at the herd, and then at her. He said he did not care what the enemy thought. What mattered was keeping her and the herd safe. Kalira felt heat rise in her chest. His loyalty unsettled her. She had never experienced such open devotion from anyone outside her tribe. She did not know how to accept it. A soft vibration rose from the ground. One of the herd creatures lifted its head and looked at Raylan. Its eyes glowed faint blue, the same shade as herd water. It walked to him slowly and rested its head against his shoulder. Kalira stared in disbelief. The herd recognized him. It accepted him fully. That had never happened with any outsider. Raylan touched the creature gently as if it were a fragile friend. Kalira watched the scene with widened eyes. She realized something important. The herd did not just trust him. They connected to him the way they connected to her. Raylan stood and faced her. His voice was calm as always. He said he had never belonged anywhere before. But here with her and the herd he felt something new. Something like purpose. Kalira felt the truth settle inside her like a slow breath. The water he should not have touched had changed everything. And now the future of both their worlds rested on understanding the human, who survived what no one else could. The ridge lay quiet, but the air around Kalira felt heavy with thoughts she could not escape. Raylan walked beside the herd, checking each creature with gentle hands, while she followed behind him, trying to calm her racing mind. She had fought many battles and survived. Harsh worlds, but she had never faced a mystery like this human, who should have fallen yet stood stronger each hour. As they moved deeper into the valley, a thin mist rolled across the ground. The morning sun reached through it, casting long shadows that swayed with every step. Kalira watched Raylan carefully. Every movement he made carried steady purpose. He checked the paths for danger, he listened to the herd, he guided them without fear. She realized she had begun matching her steps to his rhythm. Without noticing, they stopped at a river bend where the herd could drink safely. Raylan climbed onto a flat stone and looked across the water, scanning both sides. Kalira joined him. She pointed out a distant ridge where enemy scouts often hid. Raylan studied it for a long moment, then explained how they could use the land to create a trap if the rival clan attacked again. His thinking surprised her. Humans were supposed to be emotional and unpredictable, yet he saw the field like a tactician. She asked where he learned such awareness. Raylan simply said he had spent most of his life surviving alone. Experience taught him to notice danger early. Kalira felt a slow ache in her chest. She knew the loneliness of warriors but not the loneliness of outcasts. As the herd rested, Raylan crouched near the water cleaning his knife. Kalira sat on a fallen tree watching him. She wondered why her instincts felt drawn to him. Her species did not bond easily with outsiders. Trust required years, not moments. Yet Raylan had earned trust with a single impossible act, drinking herd water without fear. It broke the laws of her world and the rules of her heart. She spoke his name softly. He looked up at her with calm eyes waiting for her words. She told him that her people believed bonds formed by shared danger were the strongest bonds of all. Raylan nodded slowly as if the idea was familiar to him. He said danger had shaped most of his life. But with her it felt different. Safer and clearer. Kalira felt her armor plates lift slightly, a sign of confusion. She asked him why he trusted her so easily. Raylan took a long breath before answering. He said when he first saw her guiding the wounded herd, he saw someone who carried more weight than any one warrior should. He wanted to help because he knew what it looked like when someone tried to stand alone for too long. His words settled in her chest like a warm echo. The moment grew quiet until the river suddenly rippled. A stone fell into the water from the eastern slope. Kalira stiffened. Raylan rose to his feet, gripping his knife. The herd shifted nervously. Kalira scanned the trees but saw no movement. She sensed no direct presence, yet the air felt wrong. Raylan stepped beside her close enough that she felt the heat of his breath. He whispered that someone was watching them. Kalira felt her instincts agree. She placed her hand on the hilt of her blade. But the danger did not reveal itself. It lingered like a shadow waiting to strike at the right moment. When the tension eased slightly, Kalira told Raylan they needed to prepare for the final confrontation. The rival clan would not stay hidden for long. Raylan responded with a calm nod, then began marking lines in the dirt, showing her how to set traps using the terrain. His ideas were simple but effective. She felt impressed and strangely proud of him. As they planned, Kalira noticed something else. He always positioned himself between her and the open path. Not as a shield, but as a natural instinct. She wondered how many times he had protected others before, and how many times no one had protected him. When the sun lowered, they set up camp near a cluster of stones. The herd surrounded them, forming a living wall. Kalira sat near the fire, sharpening her blade, while Raylan secured the traps they had built. He returned with dust on his clothes and calm confidence in his eyes. He sat beside her and asked if she believed they could win. Kalira looked at him for a long moment. She said she believed they could survive because they stood together. Raylan smiled slightly at that answer. Kalira felt her heart shift in a way she could not control. Their bond had grown fast, stronger than she ever expected, stronger than her world allowed. It should not exist between their species, yet it lived quietly in every shared breath, every silent step, every moment they fought side by side. The night grew cold and the fire flickered softly. Kalira looked at Raylan and realized something she had tried to ignore. The danger ahead did not frighten her. The rival clan did not frighten her. What frightened her was the depth of trust she felt for a human who never should have survived her world at all. And that bond now held the power to change everything. The night settled over the stones in a heavy stillness. The fire burned low, casting long, gentle light across the ground. Kalira felt the tension crawling through the air. The rival clan had waited long enough. Their silence was not fear. It was planning. She sensed the moment before it happened. The night shifted like a breath held too long. Raylan stood at her side before she spoke a word. He tightened the strap of his pack and checked the traps one last time. His calm presence grounded her, even when the danger pressed close. She watched him for a moment, trying to understand how someone so unarmed and unshielded carried such unshakable steadiness. She felt her heartbeat rise with something deep that had no name in her language. The first attack came without sound. A shadow leaped from behind the stones, aiming for the herd. Kalira moved faster than the wind and struck with her blade. The warrior fell, but more followed. Dark shapes broke through the trees, rushing forward with sharp weapons and wild cries. The herd panicked. The air filled with pounding hooves and clashing metal. Rylan stepped into the chaos without fear. He blocked a spear meant for one of the younger herd creatures and pushed it aside. He moved with quick instinct, using speed instead of strength. Kalira fought her way toward him, cutting through two warriors who tried to surround him. Her cracked armor burned with pain, but she did not slow. She would not let the clan touch him. The rival clan leader appeared at the edge of the shadows. His tall frame carried heavy armor and a massive spear. His eyes burned with fury. He had seen the human fight. He had seen the herd respond to the human. He knew what this meant. Raylan was a threat to his claim over the region. A human with the herd's trust could shift power in ways he could not allow. He charged toward Rylan. Kalira saw him and sprinted with everything she had. Her body protested, but her spirit did not. She reached the leader first and blocked his attack. The force of the strike shook her to the bone. Her blade scraped against his spear. Pain shot through her shoulder. She stumbled back. Rylan reached her and caught her before she fell. For a moment, their eyes met in the middle of battle. She saw his worry, his determination, his refusal to let her fall. She pushed herself, upright with his support, and turned toward the leader again. The leader roared and swung his spear at Rylan. Kalira moved in front of him, taking the blow on her armor. The impact cracked the plate fully. She felt heat rise under her skin. She dropped to one knee. Rylan caught the spear shaft and used all his strength to pull it sideways. The leader staggered. Kalira rose again, fueled by a strength she did not know she still had. She struck with her blade, striking the leader's arm. The wound broke his focus. He swung again, but Rylan blocked it by stepping into the path and pushing the spear with his whole body weight. The leader lost balance. Kalira seized the moment. Her blade moved with clean instinct. She struck the final blow, sending the leader crashing to the ground. The rival clan saw their leader fall and retreated into the forest, leaving the valley in shaking silence. The herd gathered around them, breathing heavily but alive. Kalira dropped her blade and held her wounded shoulder. Raylan stepped toward her, checking her injuries with careful hands. She felt warmth rise in her chest as she looked at him. He asked if she was alive. She answered yes, though her voice felt weak. He laughed softly with relief. Not loud. Just a quiet breath that held more meaning than many words. Kalira stood in front of him as the first morning light touched the battlefield. The herd moved closer, forming a protective circle around them. Their eyes glowed with soft blue light. They recognized him as one of their own now. A protector. A guide. A bond they had never shared with any outsider. Her tribe arrived shortly after, drawn by the battle cries. They froze when they saw her standing beside a human who held the herd's trust. Their shock spread across their faces. They looked at Rylan with disbelief, confusion, and something close to awe. Kalira stepped forward and declared him a protector of the herd. Her voice carried through the valley, strong and clear. She said he had stood against the rival clan without fear. He had guarded her when she was weak. He had become something no outsider ever had. The tribe looked at her, waiting for the final words. She turned toward Rylan. His eyes held quiet strength. She felt something shift inside her once more. She spoke the words she never thought she would give to a human. She told him that if he wished, he could walk beside her as an equal, as a warrior. As someone chosen by her, Raylan smiled in the soft morning light. He said he would stand where she stood as long as she wished it. Kalira felt her armor soften at the edges, a response of deep acceptance. She looked at him and spoke the simple words that began it all. Suit yourself, human. You belong with us now.